and welcome back to the Afternoon Mix. I'm here this afternoon with George Strott. George is an attorney in Salisbury and other places as well, and I would like to talk to him today about our economy and how it's affecting the residents in our communities. George, it's nice to meet you again. I mean, I've known you for a long time. I really appreciate you coming today and talking to us.
My pleasure.
First of all, where exactly are your practices?
Well, I practice in Maryland and Delaware. I have an office here in Salisbury, as well as one in Seaford, Delaware. My practice is generally what you call a general practice. I practice in the areas of bankruptcy, personal injury, workers' compensation, medical malpractice, criminal defense, and domestic work.
Okay, well, that's quite a list of things. But today I think that we had decided that it was really going to be important to focus on the economy and how it is affecting people all over the shore.
Well, the economy, as everybody knows, is pretty much in the tank right now. And the problems that I'm seeing generally here in the Eastern Shore area are problems with people who are terribly behind on either their mortgages, have lost their jobs, have accumulated tremendous uncovered medical expenses, and are unable to take care of those expenses, and are forced to come to grips with what they can do about that problem. Understand something that first and foremost, you need to know that financial problems are statistically the second or third most serious situations in an individual's life. I'm talking about that's right behind death of a family member or a divorce. So if you are in that kind of financial stress, it's absolutely incumbent upon you to try to get assistance from some source.
Now, when you get to a point where you feel like you're floundering and you're desperate, how do you judge where you are, when you need help, and where you go?
Well, I think that's on a case-by-case determination. If you're getting creditors' calls and dunning letters from creditors, or you're behind on your mortgage and the mortgage lender is threatening foreclosure, it is always important for you to consult with somebody who has the background to at least assist you in going through that maze of relieving you of that stress.
Because ignoring the calls, ignoring the letters just doesn't work.
No, what ultimately will happen is the house will go into foreclosure if you're behind on your mortgage. Judgment creditors can then attach wages if they get judgments against you. Collection calls continue and are unabated, and you can get further and further stressed out by the entire situation.
Absolutely.
There are options available, and those options are by way of filing what are known as chapter proceedings. Chapter proceedings are bankruptcy cases. There are a number of different types of bankruptcies available. Business bankruptcies are known as Chapter 11s. Chapter 13s are known as wage earners plans, and Chapter 7s are known as straight liquidation bankruptcies, consumer bankruptcies, where most of the people who have these kind of financial problems would fall into that category. But
Okay.
there's certain requirements that have to be met before you can file these bankruptcies, and you have to consult with somebody before you're able to make a determination as to which is the best route for you.
Now, when they call you and make an appointment and sit down, what is it that you talk to them about? What kind of questions do they need to know the answers to for you?
Well, at the first meeting, you basically explain to them their options, the different types of bankruptcies. You also have to explain to them that before they can file a bankruptcy, you have to have a certificate from a U.S. Trustees approved credit counseling company that says you qualify. The attorney will present you with the list of those companies that are available and approved by the bankruptcy court. They are not the companies that you see advertised on television. Those companies are not approved by the U.S. Trustees Office or the U.S. Bankruptcy Court, with the exception of Consumer Credit Counseling Service, which has an office here in Salisbury. It's important that you get that certificate, and if you have made the decision to file the bankruptcy, then you should have it done sooner rather than later, because these certificates are only good for 6 months. But once you commit to filing, you would work out the procedure with the attorney that you consulted with to find how best to proceed and how fast it has to be done. I mean, certain people are under the gun, so to speak, because their house is in foreclosure and a sale is going to be taking place imminently. In order to stop that sale, the bankruptcy has to be filed in the bankruptcy court to stop the sale.
And then that will stop the sale.
That will stop the
But
sale.
for how long will that stop the sale?
Well, that's dependent on the creditor. And
Okay.
from my experience, in this specific economic market, we're talking about minimum of 5 months. Because if you file a Chapter 7 bankruptcy, you're in bankruptcy for 5 months from the date of filing to the date of discharge. Most creditors are not requesting the bankruptcy court to give them authorization to file what's known as a relief from automatic stay, which is a technical term for giving them authority to file
Okay.
the foreclosure proceedings, until after you're discharged. So you would have, if you filed before the sale took place, you'd have 5 months, and then they would have to start all over again. I'm talking about the mortgage lender,
Okay.
to start the process of foreclosure. So you could stay in your home up to a year, maybe even longer,
Interesting.
depending on how aggressive the creditor is in the foreclosure proceedings.
But to have the advice of attorney as you're working through that is
Obviously.
major, obviously.
Obviously.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So say that you are filing bankruptcy and you've decided that you really need to sell your house. What do you do? How do you even go about doing that? It's a huge problem. I see it everywhere.
There's an issue, there's a suggestion out there in the marketplace right now known as short sales. A short sale is a process where a seller, the homeowner, agrees to sell the house for less than that which is owed under the mortgage. Okay?
Okay.
So hypothetically, if you're talking about a house that has a mortgage against it of $200,000 and the short sale price is $150,000, you're talking about a $50,000 shortfall.
Yes.
There are specific requirements that the homeowner has to comply with in order to avoid that $50,000 becoming taxable income.
That would be huge. I mean, that would be so important.
And if they went to the short sale and committed to the short sale, having not complied with these requirements, that $50,000 would be taxable income to them, and thereby, if they ultimately did decide to file bankruptcy, that is not a dischargeable debt.
Well, now, who advises them properly to make sure that everything is exactly in place so that they aren't charged that $50,000?
Well, obviously, the realtor should advise them of the problem. Secondly, the attorney that they consult with regards to the bankruptcy would most likely advise them to avoid that sticking point, not to go to the short sale. They might want to file the bankruptcy and allow the house to go to foreclosure, because that is not a taxable event. But it's a case-by-case situation, and you should have advice of counsel.
Okay.
There are a number of other issues that have to be discussed, but you need to take the time to set up an appointment and speak with somebody who's conversant in the area of bankruptcy, whether it's for purposes of discussing a foreclosure sale as opposed to doing a short sale, and each case has to be addressed point by point and case by case.
Okay. So it sounds to me like there are a lot more things that we need to discuss.
Certainly are.
Do you have time to stay for a few minutes and let's continue discussing some things?
Of course.
Then what we'll do is we'll have this on the website at theafternoonmix.com. Look for George Strott's page, and we will continue to. I'll ask questions and he'll give you some answers. And if you have some more questions, you can always send an email to Mary@theafternoonmix.com, and we'll see what we can do about getting some questions and answers up there for you. Thank you, and we'll see you right back after the commercial.